Welcome to the Find Your Leadership Confidence podcast with Vicki Noethling. You are about to discover impactful lessons that help you grow as an individual, grow your confidence, and find the positive and good within you, so you powerfully and authentically become the best version of yourself. Be sure you visit our website at www.findyourleadershipconfidence.com. While you're there, subscribe to us via your favorite network. Now tune in, get ready, and enjoy the journey of emerging as a leader of exception in the 21st century.
Welcome, everyone, to the Find Your Leadership Confidence podcast. I'm your host, Vicki Noethling, coming to you from Roswell, Georgia. The goal of this podcast is to bring topics and guests that will empower you to become that confident leader and take your business and your life to the next level. Today, I am very excited to have with me my guest, Kerry L. And let me tell you a little bit about Kerry. So Kerry is the CEO and founder of Potential to Reality Consulting and a senior member of ASQ, which is the American Society for Quality. He is an executive consultant who specializes in enterprise transformation, operational excellence, and organizational change management. His personal and professional focus is on helping organizations and societies that are dedicated to the well-being of their stakeholders to achieve and sustain excellence. For more than 25 years, Kerry has been leading and supporting transformation and major organizational changes for governmental agencies, as well as nonprofit and commercial enterprises. He has had an eclectic career that has provided an opportunity to have an impact across the broad range of organizations. Among the relevant roles that he has performed are CEO, Executive Director, COO, and Head of Ministries for nonprofit organizations, Division Director for Technology Planning, and State Project Management Office, Assistant Division Director, Director of Office of Change Management, State Division of Families and Children Services, Senior Industry Leader, Director of Project Management and Global Manager of Service Quality and Customer Loyalty for IT, which is Information Technology, Services of Global IT and Government Consulting Companies. Such an impressive background. Today, though, as you heard, we mentioned several times one of my favorite topics to talk about, and that is organization change management. All right, button up. Here we go, people. It's time to take some notes. Please join me in welcoming my guest, Kerry L. Kerry.
Thank you, Vicki. Appreciate the opportunity to be with you and your guest.
Awesome. And as we mentioned before we got started here, change management came up often in my career as a project manager. And so it's just one of those things that people know they have to do. People know change is happening. It's just, like death, it's going to happen.
Yeah.
But they sometimes have a hard time accepting it or doing it when it's needed. So
Absolutely.
Before we get into the hard questions, I wanted to just do the simple question I ask everyone, which is, please tell us, where do you call home? Where do you live?
Well, we're actually close together. I'm in Marietta, Georgia, and I have worked globally and traveled a lot in the United States for our projects and the work that I do. So I'm a kind of a transplanted Georgian. I wasn't born here, so therefore I can't claim it as my home, but I've lived here a long time.
Well, don't worry. We're not. We are probably the majority. Most of us are transplants in Georgia. My sister-in-law does claim to be born and bred here, and that is one of the things. But Georgia is a great place to live, and so we get a lot of people from not only in the U.S. but around the world. So it's a very good environment to live in, and we definitely have to catch up and have lunch or something together to share notes.
Absolutely.
So I love that, people where they are today is not where they were 10, 15 years ago.
Yeah.
So please share a little bit of what this journey is that led you to be doing what you're doing today.
Well, again, I've had an eclectic, long journey, but it seems like that all of these pieces are kind of fitting together to provide a background and experience set, and learning a few things for skills along the way to be able to help organizations go from where they are to where they want to be. That seems to be kind of a consistent theme of the things that I've done in my working career and also avocationally. And that really gives me energy and joy, and one of the things that I like to do, in particular for organizations that are really focused on doing well by doing good.
Yeah. And just want to for the audience is entrepreneurs, small business owners, but I do have a lot of people that are members of larger organizations. So when we're doing these questions today, I want everybody to just start to think of your organization and how this might impact your business, small or large.
Absolutely.
And so let's just talk about how we can make change happen a little faster. We don't like it, so we do that procrastination a lot, but how can you help your organization change faster?
Well, I think the number one piece of emphasis that we need to understand and you need to accept as a leader, either of a large organization or of your own enterprise, is change is the responsibility of the leader. And you really cannot outsource that, nor can you just buy it as a service and somebody comes in and changes your business for you. And the reason why is because of the strategy of the organization is really rooted in what is the leadership, where is the leader wanting to take their organization, and they need to have the insight to be able to look at where they are and then be able to look forward into the future and say, what's the difference between where I'm at and where I want to be?
And I think that's worth repeating because there's a lot of organizations and in my years and years of project management, I've seen people come in with these organizations and try to change, but if you don't understand the culture, and I think this is a message for all you leaders out there, if you don't know, then you should bring someone in to help you discover what is your mission, what is the vision, what does it look like in 5 years, what's the end game. But you are the person that drives that then. And I think that's important because when you put them in the driver's seat, it's rare that you really have a smooth transition, in my experience.
Absolutely. And I'm glad you mentioned the word culture, because again, that is another leadership responsibility. And it's critical for the leader to have what I'm not trying to be pejorative or anything, but basically integrity in the view of their culture, meaning that what you say the culture is what your culture is what you really instill in the organization. For instance, if you say that we're a customer-centered organization and we're focusing on our customers, but really you're just focusing on maximizing your profitability for each individual transaction, what you do speaks louder than what you say. And so that causes conflict, which also makes your need to change less successful.
Yeah. I learned that early on in my career. I worked for a small stint for the top members of the CEO, CIO, and all. And so we would get calls in that went to our customer service, and it had to be escalated to that upper level. And so I was the first person that they would talk to before they talked to the other person. And some managers might say, well, I don't want to talk to that person. You handle it, make them go away. But I had a manager that would take those calls, and he always made it right. He understood, just as you were saying, that you're there to delight your customer. If unless it's totally obscene what they were asking for, but most cases it wasn't. They just wanted you to make it right, that they felt that they were disserviced, and how can you fix that? And that was a great lesson for me, because sometimes you had to eat crow, if you will, or
Yep.
that it was really probably partially their problem that caused the issue, but it still didn't make them feel better. And you wanted them to come back, and that experience would have them tell other people about how you were positively helped, as opposed to telling 10 people how terrible you were helped.
Absolutely. And one of the other things, though, in that integrity piece, though, is that you have to be true to yourself. If, for instance, that you do have a business and a desire to focus on something other than customer relations, one of the areas that I've been quoting recently over the past year or so, I think it was the CEO of Shopify that was contrasting against the view of his business being a family. And he said, "We are not a family. We are a high-performing team." And I thought that was very, very eloquent and very well suited, because that sets the tone then for what the employees can expect. That we're expecting high productivity and highly efficient, highly effective work. And we're not necessarily focused on those things that may make you feel cozy or whatever. And that's honest. And so I think that those workers that go into that environment have that expectation up front. And also they can expect also from their teammates and from the company that, I want to be well compensated for the value that I produce, because that's what it's about. And so you just need to be honest with yourself about what is your goal for your organization.
Absolutely. So what can be done to, I think we talk about how business and our beliefs are separate, but I always found that to get that to that place of integrity, to build trust, and to be authentic, if you are a faith-driven person, you need to have faith in what you do at work too. And it really does impact the results. So how can we as citizens, God-fearing or whatever your religion might be able to bring this to our organizations to make them more authentically, maybe deal more with equity rather than equality type of thing?
Yeah, I'm glad that you brought that up, because I think that going back to the other comment that I made, that level of integrity is a measure of self-awareness and openness to communication truthfully to others. And so I've never agreed with, nor have I found it to be in my personal nature or anybody that I've worked with, that who you are does not come out in what you do, and particularly in challenging circumstances. When you get to the point where things are not happening automatically, what's your true view of life and what is your value system? That comes through. And I'm not making judgments about anybody else's value system, but I think that you need to be clear about what that is. For me, that was one of the reasons that I kind of like my business. I call it boutique, because it means that I get to pick my engagements, because I can I'm at that place in my life. And I focus on those that match my value set, where I see someone trying to accomplish good by their organization. And good doesn't necessarily mean not-for-profit only or that government only. People can see goodness in for-profit businesses that are working to provide value to their customers and value to the societies of which they interact in.
So when we talk about providing value, another piece of change management is really to to talk about, what it is that you offer, and maybe sometimes you need to change or pivot from that. Especially small business owners, they love their baby, but sometimes your baby's going to grow up, and what are they going to become? And so I think you need to think about, okay, well, what is it that you want them to become, and where does quality management tie into change management in that regard?
Well, there's a couple of focus areas that I look at, and one that I bought into from a philosophical standpoint. But again, you pick from the tools that you need is Lean Six Sigma. In the concept of Lean is that you eliminate those things that don't provide value for your stakeholders. And Six Sigma means that you do it in an ever improving manner that eliminates the defects of delivering that service or that product along the way. And the marriage of those things allows you to be able to continue to provide what you do in an ever improving manner. But one of the other concepts is strategic management, and I like to, again, apply that to leadership and lean thinking at the strategic level. Because the bottom line is that if the leader picks a strategy that is not appropriate for the organization or the environment that you're going to exist in, then no amount of improvement or focus or measurement or constant improvement that happens in the middle layers or at your front line will change your strategy. So I always get my Japanese terms mixed up there, but the bottom line is that leaders can produce waste that the middle managers and the front line cannot overcome.
Yeah, absolutely. So then that takes us to my next question of having the right people in your organization. And, I think for a long time there, people were just hiring people to sit in seats,
Yeah.
butts in seats. But it really does make a difference, and who you bring in and who you hire to really champion your vision, your mission, and to make the change necessary. And sometimes it does mean that you get rid of some people that aren't aligned with that.
Exactly. And that really is the almost the first part of implementing the change that you have. Once you decided where you're going to go, you need to start looking from a top-down standpoint of who is capable and willing to be successful where you are. And a number of models of change emphasize that at points that are later once you start communicating. I tell leaders that you need to do that as early as possible. And the reason why is that if you need to make a personnel change or a teamwork change, once you've launched your transformation or launched your change, that actually is demoralizing and saps energy out of it. If you think of change as going on a ocean voyage, if you can think like maybe the old explorers, that you pick your crew and you set off from the coast with the idea that you're going to establish a new endeavor to wherever you're going to go. You pick those people because you thought that they were going to be successful on the other side, or at least that's what the common understanding is of the people that are on the voyage with you. But if you find out along the way, or if something happens along the way that one of the people, particularly one of the leaders, that falls overboard, then all of a sudden that begins to bring doubt and question into the rest of the team. Will we really survive on the other side? And so you need to make those changes up front. And sometimes that means that you may need to have a hard look at people that you've had a relationship with or have been productive in the old environment, but you don't know that they can in the new environment. That actually is probably a harder thing to do when you have a loyal team member that you just decide cannot provide or will not be successful in the new environment. you need to then have a really serious conversation up front with that individual and say, we're going to go somewhere different that it's not going to be really good for you. And so how do we come to a win-win situation such that you will be find something of value on this side, and I would appreciate you helping us get it ready for the voyage, but you're not going to go with us. And so how do we reconcile that?
Yeah. I know in my experience, there were times where people were let go that actually were contributing and had the vision and alignment, but their salary was such that again, going back to that profit versus what the true culture or what you want on the other side is. And so they were let go in the thoughts, I think, that, well, they're so skilled, they'll get a job anywhere, they'll be okay. Instead of thinking, but what is that hole that they create? If that's that leader that's overboard, right? What's that hole they create? And can I fill it with who I have or who I hire?
Correct.
And sometimes it doesn't get filled. And the results really put back the strategy and the ability to fulfill your mission.
Everything that you do communicates what you really believe. And if you have a contributor in a leadership position and you decide that they're not going to be in the future organization and it's simply based on cost, then that's a reasonable decision to make, but you need to understand what that communicates to the rest of the organization. That you just said that at some point in time, I may be too expensive. And so they need to consider whether they really want to make this journey with you. At the very least, you should expect that they will always be in their mind and they'll be looking for the better opportunity. So
Yeah.
you can expect that you're going to introduce turnover if that's the type of thing that you want to do.
Very true. So when we talk about change and nonprofit and association societies, I think sometimes that's harder than in big companies and organizations, because again, if we go back to what I mentioned about being that passion for that direction that you were going, but especially, in societies and nonprofits where they sometimes do have to pivot to be able to sustain and exist.
That was one of the things that I learned, particularly working in a church organization.
Yeah.
And in that particular environment, a lot of times people have come to a position of leadership for a number of different reasons. But if you have a vision of something different, in the case that that I was working with, is that our congregation was going to grow and we were going to serve the needs of families rather than just a friendship type of organization. And there was nothing wrong with that for what it was at the time. But the persons that were in positions of leadership need to understand that where we're going is going to require more of you.
Yeah.
And so then you do some things, particularly like, you've probably seen a lot of emeritus positions and those type of things where you recognize and honor the person for the contributions that they have made, but you don't have them in a position that you're counting on them to deliver in the new environment. So that was some things that you have to do, and sometimes they're harder to do, like you mentioned, particularly in a nonprofit or benevolent type of organization.
And that's again tying it to change management, but it's one of the reasons why I do leadership and public speaking, communication, because as the leader, how you communicate every step along the way is impactful. And especially when you look at societies or areas where the majority of the people that will make your vision and your mission come true are volunteers.
Absolutely. Yeah.
And you have to make those volunteers feel valued and worth, but they also have to understand the change and why the change is necessary,
Yes.
and to do it in a way, again, that has what the culture is, what the intent is, so that they don't feel threatened, I guess.
Absolutely. Absolutely. You know, there are a number of frameworks for change management. The one that I found and use in my practice most recently or regularly is the ProSci model of ADKAR: awareness, desire, knowledge, ability, and reinforcement. And th those two, the AD part, are really, really critical in this launching area, that people need to know that it is possible, that there is something different that you can go to, but then they have to want it. And that's the responsibility of the leader, is to create that desire in the organization to say, we want to be where we want to go. And that's the difficult things, and particularly in not-for-profit organizations and others, where they're really happy with what they did. Why do we have to do something
Yeah,
different?
why
It's
break
really
it? Why fix it if it isn't broke? I've heard that
exactly.
many times. And I think too, the communication also has to be one of reality, that, hey, folks, it may not go smoothly this first time. The journey may have bumps on the road, but we will learn from that and we will grow from that. And I think that has to be shared, because if the leader is trying to project, well, I've got it all, I know what I'm doing, and I got it all control, and everything's going to be perfect, that's not the reality. And I think if you give people the grace to fail and learn from it, and share what their learnings were, I think is helpful in change as well.
Absolutely. There's another model that I incorporate that I learned from a gentleman in business school. His name is Dr. Robert Miles. He's got lots of accolades, been deans at Harvard and at Emory, where I met him. And he created a model that I helped him with a major technology company to change the focus, called Accelerated Corporate Transformation. And I work with him to help apply that to government organizations and others. But the idea there is that it's a repeating cycle of change. And the idea is that you focus on just a few things early on, but you cascade those changes throughout the organization. So the leaders say, this is what we're going to do. And from my area of responsibility, these are the targets that we're going to do. And this is how I'm going to get that done with these few strategies. But here's where I need your help, is I need your help in the next level, is how do we do these strategies? And what are the things that we can expect along the way? And it cascades from the top to the bottom, such that everybody in the organization says, well, my job today is to to flip burgers, but we're going to expand now into healthy diets and that sort of thing. So I'm going to learn about salads and those type of things. And so my job is, I'm going to learn how to make salads in addition to burgers, and then I'm going to switch over to maybe, and I'll use that burger skill to be able to figure out how to grill chicken, or to some other type of thing to be able to master, so that I can contribute in the new environment.
And I think it's really kind of relevant to what we're seeing today as entrepreneurs, as business owners, where I have been a content creator, I've been a designer, a writer, and spending countless hours doing that creativity. But can I use AI to be a next level, where it is taking my version, my content, and giving me options that make it better, make
Yes,
it more clear, if you will. And even, those of you that English isn't your first language, can I put it in this language and get it into English in a grammatically correct way? All of it saving time. And again,
absolutely.
as we talked about changing faster, how can I do this to be with integrity, with honesty, authenticity, but again, at an accelerated rate because I use this new technology.
One of the things that I've been spending a good bit of time on recently, and in my podcast, I also invited a expert that I'm in a doctoral program, Doctor of Business Administration at Georgia State. And one of the experts there in the Georgia State Business School in general, they've adopted and actually promote the use of generative AI in their work. Now, they have some very clear rules about plagiarization and that sort of thing. You can't allow the system to create your work for you, but they welcome you and they almost encourage you to find out if there are better ways to say or to do or to integrate the information that's available in a more efficient manner. Because the bottom line is what we're accountable for is the output of knowledge, the creation of knowledge that is adequate and also contributing to the knowledge base in the realm of research and in usage.
Yeah, and the more that you put your words in it, the more the artificial intelligence learns your words, your style, and everything, and again, it just saves time. Hours become seconds.
Yes.
Yeah. Well, it has been just wonderful. You and I, of course, could probably talk for another 2 hours on this topic, and definitely we'll have you back so we can chat some more. But for now, as always, I'm going to share my slide that has contact information for Kerry. Those of you that are just listening, if you haven't been taking notes, you know I always say shame on you, but go grab that paper, pencil right quick so you can get the websites. Again, everything though will be on my YouTube channel, Vicki Noethling. Please subscribe, as well as my findyourleadershipconfidence.com website. So again, the website is makingitreality.com. Again, makingitreality.com. And you can go to LinkedIn, and it is his name, Kerry L. Bass. Again, Kerry L. Bass, all one word smashed together there. I'm going to turn it over to Kerry to talk to you about what you'll find when you go to his website or social media that might help you in change management or in any way that he might be able to help you in some of the things that we talked about today. So, Kerry, it's all yours.
Sure. Thank you, Vicki. If you go to my website, you'll be able to find links and contact requests where you can be able to get in touch with me. And one of those is a link to my calendar. And what I'd like to offer anyone that, particularly those organizations that are looking to do well by doing good, if you're thinking about how can you make a change, I'd be happy to talk with you about what we're doing. I have a free introductory, consultation conversation to talk about what you're doing and some techniques or thoughts that you might want to use. That's on the website. Also, from the website and from my LinkedIn page, you'll see lots of other areas, some other place where I've been a guest, but I also have links to a podcast that I'm beginning to work with called the Leadership Luminaries Lounge. And it has contacts about episodes where we're talking about leadership, change management, and those issues that are confronting leadership today. Be happy to talk with you about what you're trying to do.
Fantastic. So if you haven't got that information, again, it's makingitreality.com. Kerry, it's just been great chatting with you. I'd love to hear all the things you're doing, and hopefully we'll come back and talk a little bit more about quality management or any of the other things, maybe focus a little more too on the nonprofits for those that might have nonprofits ideas. But
happy to have those conversations. Really excited about doing it.
Yeah. As always, I remind everyone that life is a journey and it's up to you to enjoy the ride. This is Vicki Noethling signing off.
Thank you for tuning into the Find Your Leadership Confidence podcast with Vicki Noethling, where we share impactful lessons that help you grow as an individual, grow your confidence, and find the positive and good within you so you powerfully and authentically become the best version of yourself. Remember to visit our website at www.findyourleadershipconfidence.com and enjoy even more great episodes like this one. Again, while you're here, subscribe to us via your favorite network. We look forward to seeing you next time on the Find Your Leadership Confidence podcast.